Welcome back to the Paranorm Girl Podcast. I am your host, Kristen. Great horror doesn't simply frighten, it reflects. It can give shape to our anxieties, our questions, and mysteries that we struggle to explain. It can bring also a sense of relief and release, a feeling of security in a dangerous situation while we consume it from the safety of our own homes and movie theaters and bookstores. But we can't have great horror without a storyteller who is intimately understanding of it and can translate it to the rest of us, such as tonight's guest. AI could never, baby. Now, before we get into it, if you're watching live, thank you so much. Hi, guys. Please, if you will, or at least just before you leave, be sure to hit the thumbs up below the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Help me help the YouTube algorithm, help to let others know that we do great stuff over here. We have some awesome guests on too, such as the following. My guest is Eric Miller, a veteran of the entertainment industry whose career spans more than 3 decades and an impressive range of roles, including screenwriter, producer, production manager, transportation coordinator, publisher, editor, and author. Horror fans may know his work from films such as Night Skies, Ice Spider, Swamp Shark, Mask Maker, and The Shadow Men, while industry professionals recognize him from his years working behind the scenes on productions ranging from independent horror films and shorts to major Hollywood projects. He has also served as head of production for Eli Roth's horror company, Raw Nerve, and has spent much of his career helping bring stories to life, creating the stories that we see on screen, while also coordinating the chaos that happens behind the camera. As he describes it, totally all low-stress jobs, totally all low stress, because that's usually the case in Hollywood in general. Outside of film, Eric launched Big Time Books, and is a Bram Stoker Award-nominated anthology editor whose publishing credits include Hell Comes to Hollywood 1 and 2, 18 Wheels of Horror, which I really, really liked, and 18 Wheels of Science Fiction. Most recently, he has released his debut novel, Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed, a horror novel blending supernatural terror, dark humor, magical realms, and at the core of it all, deeply human themes. Welcoming to the stage, Mr. Eric Miller.
Hey, nice to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is awesome. Really been looking forward to talking to you. We might have crossed paths before. I don't know. I don't think I mentioned this before. I come from Hollywood. I was there for like a decade, and I was just curious. Had you ever wandered into the Samuel French bookstore?
Way back in the day, yes,
Oh,
many
okay.
times, many times, but a lifetime ago.
Yeah. Being a writer, being a bookworm such as yourself, I imagine. Yeah, being in the industry. Yeah. I was there for 5 years. I worked there for 5 years, and
Oh wow, yeah.
spent the last years their assistant manager before they shut her down.
Before they shut her down, like so many.
Yes.
That's a theme that I love in my own writing and other people in just life. Is that someday, and hopefully someday, we'll get to see the great map of everything and where we were and who we crossed paths with. Because places you've been, people you've met, some that you don't know or remember, may not mean anything, but sometimes they become important years and years later. And then there's that
Yeah.
weird connection that, like, hey, I was there at the same time, and it's interesting. I love that intersection of things, and it's sometimes it's kind of almost mystical.
It is. It is. I don't know, very serendipitous at times, but yeah, not to immediately start us off track, totally off track. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I guess I like to just start these out, giving you the floor and just introducing yourself to folks who are going to tune in and out on the live, and we'll also catch it on the replay. So, go for it. Give us the backstory on Eric Miller.
Well, I loved your intro because it encapsulates, it makes me realize it sounds like I'm a lot busier than I am, but a lot of that is done over decades. So I am tired and I do spend a lot of time creating and working and all those kind of things. So it's kind of nice to hear a whole lifetime collected in one place. And one thing that you left out, and no shade on that, is that I'm a fan. Even though I'm in a position where I do create sometimes, I've written screenplays, I work in Hollywood and on big shows, small shows, and all these things. I'm still the 14-year-old kid laying in a bedroom in Indiana looking at movie posters on my wall, or
Mhm.
movies at night, or reading the latest book that came out that I got from the library or wherever. I'm still that kid. And
Mhm.
life is kicking me around and like, hey, I didn't get the gig I wanted, or this, that, and the other. I still high five that 14-year-old kid because he is proud of me. I'm proud of me. And like the things that I've done, the places I've gone, the people that I've met. But at the same time, I'm a nobody. I always love those stories. The don't you know who I am? And my
Mm.
answer to that is, well, I hope not, because I probably owe you money if you don't do know who I am. So, um,
Oh no.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I am a cog in a very big machine, but I'm proud to be that. And it's kind of a thing in life that it takes every one of us, especially on a movie set or publishing a book or whatever. It's kind of the theme of my novel. There's a couple themes floating around in it, but one of the ones that most importantly I'm trying to get across is that life is a team sport. And
Mhm.
none of us wins without help from a whole lot of other people. And in any career, anything that you're doing, no matter where you work, no matter what you do, what kind of you're creating, anyone who says that they're doing it all by themselves, they're wrong. It might be
Mhm.
they might have just forgot through omission, or they might just be an arrogant piece of junk. But we all need the help of other people to get where we're at. So, to the long list of people that helped me and taught me and everything, thank you, everybody. And for all the writers, creators, filmmakers, directors, actors, everyone, the musicians that inspired me, thank you also.
Yeah, yeah. That's especially relevant when you're working on sets or just in the industry. You know, I have a theater background. I was acting forever, like 25 years, and that's like it's very very relevant to that particular industry because you can't just do it with one. You
No,
can't.
no, you can't. And that's its own level of toughness, too. That the
Mm-hmm.
people that are willing, like, it's okay, you can write something and it'll usually wind up with 16 other people's names on the screenplay. So you can try to take credit for the good parts and blame other people for the bad parts, whatever. But
Yeah.
when you're an actor, it's your face. You're there. Good
Yeah. Yeah.
performance, bad performance, whatever it is, you're owning it, and you're not even saying your own words, and you make the best of the words that you're given and the direction. But again, all hats off to actors that just literally put themselves out there to for hopefully good, sometimes ill, and but they just, like with anything, they've got the cojones to just go out there and do it, and that's to be admired.
Oh, well, yeah, I wish I miss it sometimes. Wish I still did it. Moved on to other things. But that theme of life is a team sport, that I think that's going to come up a little bit later. And I want to dig into themes because we are going to talk about your book, which I loved, Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed.
Great.
Uh, before we get there, that's going to be our big finish. But before we get there, like I'm very fascinated with people's origin stories. How did you get from point A to point B and all of that? And just being a long time Hollywood, working there and doing the grind and all of that. Like I like to understand how did you arrive there. But before that, I have a very random question for you. So I have seen you on a couple of other interviews. You always come across super chill, like with Hollywood, with horror, just super chill. Where does raging Eric Miller come from?
I thought you were going to ask that, and it actually it's become a joke. Like everybody has fun nicknames. I've had quite a few through the years, and I've even put joke credits in and joke nicknames in various films. They're littered throughout because I just, for good or ill, I refuse to take things seriously. But early in my career, I was working on a movie, a karate movie. It was Rage and Honor. Cynthia Rothrock and Richard Norton and all kinds of amazing karate stuff. And one of my friends who was working on it, the second AD, for whatever reason, she started calling me Ray Generic because it rhymed, and it just stuck, and I liked it. And I was like, hey, this is the best nickname I've ever had. But it's also a play on words that I am super chill. I mean, I have my moments like everybody else does, and I rarely blow my stack in life or at work or anything. Everybody has a bad moment, especially when you're working 20-hour days and you're just just exhausted beyond means, and life and
Oh
the
yeah.
set and everything just goes wrong. But in general, I'm just the nicest guy. So I always just thought it was funny. I like that little, and then it also puts people like, oh crap, is this guy going to be crazy? And then
Yeah.
I realized on some phone calls sometimes, like I'm calling about the water bill or whatever, and the people are like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, like raging waters. Like, and then they're like, oh, so that they're not thinking I'm some kind of psycho or something. So
I
maybe I
know.
should maybe I should reconsider that. But and I thought about for a while actually just doing the brand, because I always loved a terrific work like Savage Steve Holland. Like I
Hmm.
love that you just put his name in it right there, and like on every credit that he has, Savage Steve Holland, and other people have done that too. So I was like, yeah, but
Hmm.
maybe if I was as successful or talented as he is, maybe I could have got away with it. But
Well, I think, as I recall on your IMDb, there might be a couple of credits there. It does say "raging" right before, so I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, no, that I was just curious. I'm a curious, but
yeah,
back to the origin story, where how
I'm
things start.
really not a psycho. I really am
Like,
this calm and
where's
chill.
it hiding?
Exactly.
All right, all right. Decades in the movie industry, writing world. When and how did you begin your journey to becoming a storyteller, to becoming a writer?
Well, yeah, early, very early on, we started reading at an early age. Read voraciously. Watched TV as much as there was back in the day. The kids these days don't realize there wasn't endless streaming. There wasn't even a Blockbuster. You had to kind of watch what was on the 4 or 6 channels that you actually got on the TV.
Hmm.
Luckily, there were some great channels in Indianapolis. I grew up in Indiana, and we had the great Sammy Terry horror host that would show wonderful bad movies and treat them seriously, to his credit, which was amazing. But I think Kung Fu Theater was on after that, and that, which I loved. But then later in life, the video revolution happened, and then DVDs, and going to places and watching things. So somewhere along the line, all of that and all the books that I read, I was haunting the library. There was a certain extent I moved around a lot, so I was either trying to make friends or running away from getting beat up from new enemies a couple times a year. And I kind of pulled into myself, like a lot of people do. And books and movies and music were always kind of a refuge, but also something that it wasn't a way of hiding. It just opened up my brain. And somewhere in there, I can't even say where, it was probably, probably in the 4th or 5th grade or somewhere, who even knows, I started thinking, hey, I could do that. I want to tell stories too. And my family, there's a lot of storytellers in the family. So I think that just kind of went with the DNA. And I think
Oh.
it's also a very Midwestern thing. A lot of people just like telling stories, or not, anywhere like that. So somewhere I thought, hey, I want the dump truck full of money backed up to my bank too. So I'm going to jump on and try to become whoever, Rick Castle or whatever, Stephen King or whatever. So, but it was really just the love of the art form and kind of wanting to be like those people and inspire people and solidify and codify the stories I was telling and thinking of,
Mhm.
and going, hey, this is what I want to do. And scaring people's fun. I always love scaring people, although it's very hard to do.
It is. It really does take a craftsman to do it correctly, because a lot of like modern horror, my very limited knowledge of horror is, just what I catch on the TV. It can be very in your face, very gratuitous sometimes, so maybe unnecessarily, but like
Yep.
it comes down
Yeah.
to just a good story, man. Like, it's got to be a good story.
It's got to be a good story and good characters that the audience can relate to. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of movies, not all of them, but it's so hard, especially in the screen version, to scare people. That's why we devolve into cheap scares and jump scares and things. And there's nothing wrong with those. And some are done so exquisitely well that they even catch me off guard. You're waiting for them. I remember one of the earliest ones that I absolutely love is in House, the original movie with William Catt. And he's in the bathroom with the mirror opening and closing, looking for something. And you're just waiting for, that the jump scare is coming. And spoiler, I won't give it away, but spoiler alert, the jump scare is not where you expect it. And then even in more modern times, Mike Flanagan's got a great jump scare in the middle of
Mhm.
Absentia that, again, don't want to give anything away,
Ooh.
but great movie. Watch the movie and you can see the
Mhm.
talent even when he had no money and early on in his career. And there's a scene in there, it takes place in broad daylight, and there is a jump scare that comes out of nowhere. And what the hell was that? And it's amazing. And I love when you can do that. But really scaring people, that sense of dread, that takes building the world, establishing the world, peopling it with real characters that the audience can understand and relate to. And then the bad things start happening. And then it's not just a jump scare that, okay, that could happen anywhere at any time by a prank. But when you're relating to the character and you think it's you or someone you know, and then the bad things start happening, that goes into your subconscious. That's where the real scary starts happening. And that's, again,
Oh.
hard to do. So hats off to the people that can pull it off. Page, screen, wherever. That's tough.
Dang. Do you teach? You should teach like a course, a course on this, like just the way, I don't know, your brain conceptualizes this, how it all works. Okay. All right. So
Don't my first lesson is don't do what I do. Do the opposite, and then you'll be fine. The Costanza principle. So
okay. All right. So I can see kind of how like the early kid into the books and disappearing into like different television and movies and such. I can see how the storytelling translated over to writing screenplays, movies. But what did that actual path to Hollywood look like for you? Was it a straight line or just a series of happy
no,
accidents?
series of happy accidents. Like I said, I always, read movie posters, watched movies, and figured it out. And I was actually going to college for journalism. And boy, thank
Oh.
goodness I didn't follow through with that because that's a real horror show. I don't think there's very much journalism left anymore. But it was writing, and I always wanted to write for magazines and things like National Geographic or something, and also be a novelist. And at one point, I was in my second or third try at college. I saw some people making a little short film or a commercial or something, and I went, "Oh, hey!" And that coincided with a period in my life when I wasn't really vibing with the major I was taking, and I kind of went, "Hey, I think I want to do a film degree." So I switched, started studying film. I'd always been tangentially on that, staging things with friends, and always play acting in my head and doing things, and just scaring people on the weekends. And it was just kind of an interesting progression, and that wound up some short films in college, learning the medium, learning all the lighting, learning all that stuff, and then actually wound up in an internship, which was fortuitous. There wasn't a lot of internships when I came to Hollywood, and they've since exploded at that point, or now. But I wound up in development at Orion Pictures, working for the great director Howie Deutsch, who directed
Oh.
Pretty in Pink and so many other films.
Mhm.
And development, that a lot of people don't know, is where actors, directors, producers, everybody is like, they either look for great scripts, they find great scripts, they have an idea to turn into a script, solicit writers, etc. So it was kind of a wonderful, magical place back when Hollywood was, or that studio at least, was actually dumping tons of money for tons of people to have development offices to find material to be the next thing. And it was wildly creative and introduced me to the screenplay format, which again, now you can download scripts everywhere. Back then, finding a real Hollywood script was like, what is this? Am I going to get arrested? And now you can just download them anywhere. They're all over the place.
Right.
But and then I just, over the next 2 or 3 years, I just read thousands of scripts because that's part of the job, but also it was fun. And so that I was already writing, had written short stories and done things. And then suddenly I went, oh, I can do this. Click. Of course, my first few scripts weren't very good, but I learned the craft over and over. And X amount of years later, got the first film made with a writing partner, and then 2 or 3 or 4 after that, and came this close many times to the big brass ring of big studio projects, but didn't quite make it. But you know what? I've got a lot of indie credits and things, and that's kind of always been where my heart is anyway, in low budget independent
Indie.
films and
Yeah.
all that. And that's where I was in the right place. So that's I
Okay.
mean, I'll take the Academy Award and the 3,000 screen opening and the IMAX special edition, but until that happens, hopefully next year, I am completely happy being in the place I am, because I love monster movies. I love low
Yeah.
budget independent horror, and it's just like I'm getting to work with and write for those things. And that's, again, back to that 14-year-old kid. Like, good job, dude.
Yeah, yeah, you're doing what you love, and not a lot of people can say that. And
Yeah,
that's such a
yeah,
sad reality, but that's so friggin' cool. And maybe that's why you've been at it for so long, and your stuff is just so good. We are
thank you.
gonna I want to like point at a few of the movies of your that you wrote that I was able to watch in prep for you. Just had a blast watching them. Um, Before we get to that, I'm going to nerd out a little bit with you because I have a special interest in this. So you have an impressively long list of credits on IMDb. I mean, you've been going since the 90s, tons of projects, producing, writing, of course, but you also have a bunch of credits in the transportation department. My listeners may not know what a transportation coordinator or captain is. What does that work entail?
Well, thanks for noticing it. A lot of people don't even know we exist, and sometimes it feels like the shows that we're working on, they don't know we exist. But anything, I'll just have to say, in all seriousness, it is the single greatest department on any film set everywhere, and nothing would happen without transportation. We're more important than the actors, the directors, the producers, the writers. Transportation is where it's at. So, kidding, of course.
Well, you get things where they need to go.
Yeah, we get things where it needs to go. Basically, we're in charge of, the transportation department is in charge of every piece of equipment, every person, every picture vehicle, the on-screen vehicles, from fancy cars to trucks to whatever. We are responsible for finding them, moving them, following union rules, following US DOT rules, making sure everything's copacetic on all those fronts, and working incredibly long hours. I think, as our Teamsters Local 399 says, we move Hollywood. And that's not just us, that's locals across the world, that's non-union also, and that's people everywhere. As we move the stuff that makes the movies. And you don't know it's there, but we're generally the biggest department. Sometimes we have the biggest budget, the most moving pieces and parts, and it's heavy logistics, but it also bleeds over into the artistic world too, with the picture vehicles and things like that. So it's a big job, it's a tough job, and again, it's kind of unsung heroes. And hats off again to all of my fellow drivers and coordinators and captains and picture car people and all that. That the hours are insane. People don't realize the average crew, not just us, but all the crews in Hollywood. You think, oh, I want to go work in the movies. Well, that's great, and do it. I did it. It's fun. It's rewarding. I want everybody to follow their dream. But when you're going home after 8 hours, we've just had lunch.
Right.
We're still going. So it's, it can be, if you don't manage it right, it can wreck relationships, it can wreck lives, it can wreck your health, and you learn early on how to manage it.
I imagine the burnout is bad, I imagine. Yeah.
And the burnout's terrible, and it happens to all of us. And that's, you end up sticking together with people. It becomes, it's like, it's like carnies. We're this weird kind of chosen family that you end up working with the same people over and over. And it's just like, it's a veteran to a certain extent, not taking any glory away from real veterans or people that do much harder jobs than we do. But there's a sense of, once you reach a certain point, that, we've got the stripes, we've got the badges, we've been there, we've done it. And you got to be proud of that. It's also a sickness too. Like, great, here we go again. You go from not working to 80, 90, 100-hour weeks. And then, and all that entails. So, but it's an adventure. I try to, when every show starts, I just think, this is an adventure. I'm going to go new places. I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to do things, and it ends up being fun. And that's every job, and not just transportation. That's every job behind the camera and also in front of the camera.
Okay. I do have a follow-up question to that, but I wanted to recognize Black Cat Report asks a filmmaking horror question. How do you use sound or frequencies to mess with the audience?
Well, that's a tough one. And I've got to give all credit to the sound people, the sound designers, because most of the time you don't do that in physical production. That comes in later, but being aware of it. So on the page, when I'm writing it, when I'm visualizing it. And so if a screenplay is a blueprint for a finished product. In some ways, we're the architect. We write it, and then a bunch of other people, builders, contractors, everything, for whatever their department is, producers, directors, actors, technicians, they interpret what we did. But on the page from the beginning, and sound is so critically important. A lot of times there are various places where you literally, to me, in proper screenplay format, if you read a lot of scripts, you'll see people bolding and highlighting, all caps, various things. But the reality is, the sound effect is what's technically supposed to be bolded. So it's very important. So you put that on the page when you're imagining and visualizing it, and putting that in. And then when it's turned into the actual sound, whether you're using subsonic subsonics or whatever, which not a lot of people realize they do, but there are
Yeah.
subsonic frequencies which can elicit, feelings of dread and fear, or if it's just a sound spike, or it's just a creaking door in a quiet moment. You try to get as many of those in the screenplay as you can, and then let the technicians do their magic later on. But to me, that also influences the read as well, because it puts
Okay.
I try to write things to be read. It's, even though it's a blueprint and it's a technical manual, my writing and the best scripts, I think, people even more talented than me will put in things like that. So when you're reading it, you're getting a little freaked out on the page. So hope that answers that question,
That was great.
at
Yeah.
least in
Yeah.
part.
No, Black Cat Report. He loves the horror movies and the older movies and indie movies. So yeah, I've attended his movie nights here and
Yeah,
there.
that's sound. I think it was I think it was Eli Roth said to me at one point, somebody, that the visuals are important and everything, but he said, and this, I'm pretty sure it was Eli that said this, so forgive me if it was somebody else, but he said, you're in the theater and something scary happens, you do see people do this, but you never see people do this. So even
Huh.
if you're scared and you look down and you're too much, you're still hearing it, and that's amazing and powerful.
Yeah.
That's one of the best ways I've ever heard it described. I
Okay.
hope I got the attribution right.
And Passionate Apathy, and it kind of like the throbbing bass at the beginning of Irreversible. Great movie.
Oh, right,
Yes.
such a, oh
S-
wow.
That stuck with me, man. Ooh.
Yeah.
Black Cat Report followed up 19.95 hertz. You're talking language I don't understand. I hope you understand that, Eric.
There are subsonic frequencies. And again, I'm not a tech geek, but they use them in law enforcement. They use them in movies and psychological experiments. There
Yeah.
are frequencies that are not just like a dog whistle that are too high to hear. There's frequencies that are too low for you to hear. But just
Mhm.
imagine a subwoofer that you can't necessarily hear or feel, but it's moving the molecules of your body and affecting your inner ear and doing things. And it can make you feel dread and you don't even know that it's happening,
Mhm.
which kind of explains half of my life. There must be a subsonic generator in my driveway or something, because I just, what's why
Just
why is this a
always
bad
on
day?
edge. What
Yeah,
is going
exactly.
on? So
What is
long as
going?
it's not the brown note, we're
Yeah,
I'll do I'll deal
exactly.
with whatever subsonic. Okay, all
But
right.
just good old fashioned regular sound effects, that's all it
Yeah.
takes. And some of it's just shorthand, like a creaking floor in a haunted house. Kaboom! You know where you're at. That puts you on edge, because we've got the category, the library of those type things from other movies. When you
Mhm.
hear the squeaking door, the shutting door down the hallway, the creaking on the steps, you're instantly like, ooh, something's going to happen here.
Okay.
So
Okay.
hats off to the sound designers too.
Yes. Well, I mean, it takes everybody.
Yeah, they're
Thanks.
almost as important as transportation. Almost.
Almost,
Yeah.
almost. Transportation's number one, baby. Thank you guys for the questions. Keep them coming. Ask him anything. I think he will be able to answer any of your questions. But just briefly back to the truck thing, and the reason I'm on it, I drove semi for like 3 years straight
Oh
for
wow.
harvest, and so I feel like I can like empathize with that world and like what truckers go through and all of that. Um, and question one, I did get into 18 Wheels of Horror. Anybody watching?
Yes.
Awesome anthology. It was so just spooky. It just reminded me of those scary books I used to pick up as a kid. Just spooky. And you wrote a piece for it, a short story for it called Siren.
Yep.
And as I recall from the intro going into that, you had said you had been driving, you got the inspiration for it driving one night out in Texas. I was just curious, was there, did something happen, was there more to that story?
No, in my event, no. There's more to the fictional story, but not to me. And it's the old truck driving trope. I think most people have heard it, but if you haven't, and this is a real thing, the singing tires. When you're at certain, back to frequencies, back to sound, certain tires, certain speed, certain truck, the tires can hum, and there's a frequency, and it becomes this monotonous, almost hypnotic thing. And a lot of drivers have been lulled to sleep and into accidents by it. So you have to be
Oh.
aware of that. And sometimes it could be, again, I don't know the real science behind it, but it could be, a mile or two difference, and over long term, and you're already tired. You know how it is driving. You do
Mm-hmm.
ridiculously long
Mm-hmm.
hours, and it's monotonous. When a four wheeler cuts in front of you, that's always exciting and wakes you up. But no, there's that thing. So the humming tires, and I was hearing that and aware of it, and of course, like I always do, going everywhere, I just stories start spinning in my head, and I'm thinking, singing tires, and where that whole story came from. from is I read a lot of Greek mythology and things. I thought, oh, the sirens that
Mm.
theoretically were the sirens that sang songs that lured sailors to their death. And I went, well, what if the humming of the tires wasn't actually the tires? What if it was? And then, of course, you have to figure out all the mechanics of how do I get an ancient Greek siren to Texas and Albuquerque in the middle of the night to wreck a truck, and then the whole story spins off of there and the characters and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Quick note: thank you for shouting out Coast to Coast in
Mm.
your story. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I was like,
Well,
yes,
that
I get this. I do.
yeah. I so many nights listening while waiting for things to happen on set, but driving, but also even setting in my used to have an AM radio set up above my desk, and I would listen to Coast in the middle of the night, and that's why I even
Yeah.
dedicated that book to Art Bell and Coast to Coast, because it's just so many great stories, and I love the fact that no matter how wild and crazy the story is, Art and then George Norrie and everyone else there that who took over the mantle, that they treated everyone with respect, and that this
Mm-hmm.
is this whether this story is true or not. Some of them are, some I don't know. Who will really know? Like a lot of paranormal things, but it's real to that person telling the story or what had happened to. And I
Right.
love that they treat it with respect and just some of the most wild ideas. And that would just, and you know how it is. It helps you kill time. It's weird and wild and fun, but at the same time, it's just it helps my creativity. So again, glad that you noticed that, and everybody check out Coast to Coast.
Yes, do support. I love Coast to Coast, but yeah, Art Bell, man. Let's get into like a discussion about horror writing for it. We're going to talk about some movies, but real quick, I wanted to answer one more question here, or you will. Black Cat Report. I struggle with wrapping up a content idea with multiple plot lines during a build-up, climax, and conclusion. Any thoughts? How do you weave subplots?
Yeah, that's a tough one, and that's a great question. All writers run into that, and it's called different things. But there's the A story, B story, C story, however many you want to do. And I struggled with that in my novel, for instance, and Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed. There's multiple characters, multiple viewpoints, and I'm also telling the story in the present while also flashing back to the origins and back in the past to what brought all the characters to where they are. And it actually hurt my brain getting to the kind of the end of the second act of weaving all those stories together. So it's tough. And honestly, it's not cheating to literally draw them out, literally make a chart. Some people do color coded index cards. I'm sure there's a million computer programs that do it for the techno kids these days. But like sometimes you just need to just literally physically draw them out, make notes of them. And then you can also plot like I've done this at various points where, and I think some of the softwares do it too, is like you can have an action beat and you can have a character beat and a solemn beat and this, that, and the other. And you can actually see graphically where they interact. And you go, oh crap, I had two action beats together with nothing in between. And then you go back into the story and you go, how do I either re-edit what I have, put something in the middle, or stretch it out? And I would like to say, I've talked about this a lot, but one of my favorite writers is Roger Zelazny,
Mhm.
and who was a contemporary of Ray Bradbury and so many others. He hasn't quite got the popularity of Ray and all those other people, because not a lot of his works have been turned into movies or TV shows. But one of my favorite books of his is Road Marks. I think there was a subtitle early on. I think it was also called Last Exit to Babylon. But there is the story, the character, there's a Benjamin Button element to it of a character living backwards in time. And it's about a road throughout space and time that if you're attuned to it, you get on the on ramp to this road and you can find an off ramp. Some are overgrown because they haven't been visited in a while, and others are well worn. And it's about the people on the road. There's all kinds of stuff going on. But the reason I'm bringing this up is there's the A story, which is about Red Dorikin, the hero, and he's trying to find out who he is and famously trying to recreate a series of events where the Greeks won at Marathon. That's kind of this whole fun element that he's trying to recreate something that happened to give him pieces to his life. But there's B and C stories as well about other characters, sub-characters, which all come together to help him, aid him, hinder him, whatever, and it becomes this magical, wonderful wrap up in the end. But I read somewhere, and I hope that I have this right, that Zelazny had taken the B and C stories and literally threw them up in the air. I don't know if it was on index cards or pages, whatever, or just ping pong balls, whatever. Threw them up in the air and then picked them up in whatever order, and that's how they appear in the book.
Whoa.
And
That's one way to do it.
assuming that's true, it's amazing
Yeah.
because I think he may have been even struggling. I don't know that for a fact, but like, okay, how do I tell this? How do I tell that? But given the, this road through space and time where you can go either direction and find off ramps, the character, spoiler alert, going aging backwards or aging into something different, and it just all kinds of fits. And then when you run into these interstitial chapters, you may not know the characters in them. You may not know anything about them. Kind of like what I said earlier about intersecting people in life that you may not know are important now, but may be important later or may not be. That's literally what he's doing on the page. And then you just go with it. You're along for the ride. And then you're cutting back to the A story, and then you go to the C story, and the B and C stories have their own life as well. But they're also chopped up and interstitial. So it just becomes this wonderful read. And it's one of my favorite books. I hope everybody could check that out. And anything by Roger Zelazny. It's like the Chronicles of Amber is the first 5, and now the last 5, which I've come to appreciate late in life, are still like at the top of my mountain of greatest reads ever. But it's single books like Road Marks, and then Lord of Light, which I believe, this guy's won more Hugos and Nebulas than half the people out there. And I think it's kind of sad that not more people know his name. So I'm the biggest evangelist.
I wrote it down.
Yeah.
I'm going to check it out. That book that you just
and I heard somewhere a few years ago there was somebody was making a TV series out of it, and maybe it came and went because Hollywood makes so many damn TV shows that you can't even keep track. So I feel terrible that I haven't looked it up if it exists, or maybe it didn't happen. But I'm hoping that there's a great series out there that I need to go look up and find. But if not, crossing my fingers that I could maybe work on it and help bring it to life. But who knows?
Okay. Oh, great question, Black Hat, and Black Hat does say, please thank him. So,
oh, you're welcome. and the real answer, it ain't easy. And it's kind of a weird writing tip too. There's all the technical ways. Sometimes, like life, just go with your gut. You know the story. You may not know that you know the story, but your subconscious knows that you know the story. So it's just like, well, I feel that this should go here. And also it's the beauty of technology and editing in Word or Final Draft or whatever you're using. Just try 600 different versions. Don't try 700 because then you're just wasting your time. But, you can just try it and see what works, and then give it to a friend. We all cultivate a beta reader or a friend or something, and then just say, hey, did this work for you? And I really did that. I also toyed with, again, back to my novel, I toyed with opening it in different ways and moving some of the stories around. And I purposely didn't tell some stories of people's pasts because it just didn't fit the way I structured the narrative. And I wound up structuring it the way that it is. And I hope that when people read it, they'll understand why I did it the way, even though it's bouncing back and forth, it's jumbling, coming forth to a cohesive whole before it shoots you out into the ending. So, and other bad analogies. So,
well, I will say, as a reader of yours, I didn't feel jumbled around or off, thrown off at all. Like I felt like the flow of the story was just, it was perfect for what it needed to be. So
that's great. And again, it's harder than it looked. And I'm glad it seems like I nailed it. So yay me.
So everybody go buy his book, Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed. I will have links in the show notes for everybody. So, but let's talk horror and your movies, because I want people to watch these. I thoroughly enjoyed them, and I thought maybe we could zip through these so that we can still spend a good portion of time just on the novel. I thought it'd be kind of fun. I'll throw out a name of one of the movies, and you give us like a verbal trailer, just a short and sweet. What the movie's about.
If it's not obvious in the title, but go.
Some of them are. But I think it'll be fun from the writer himself. All right, so first and foremost, one that people might be familiar with because it was like a hit on Sci-Fi, 2007's Ice Spiders. Go!
Yay! It's about. Well, they're really snow spiders, but that's another story. I lost that battle. They like the original title. It is about giant killer spiders that escape from a government lab where they're researching how to mass produce silk for various types of body armor and industrial purposes. And there happens to be a ski resort nearby, and mayhem ensues. But it's not all about the spiders. I did try to give the spiders as much personality as I could and did a lot of research. And it's a fascinating subject, even though they freak me the F out like most people. But they really are incredible things. But most of that really didn't get into the script. But there are great characters and great performances by all the actors. And Tibor Takas, I think, just knocked it out of the ballpark. And everybody involved. We just made a fun little movie. And yes, It's stupid, but you know what? It's stupid fun, and you try to make it as smart as you can. And again, credit to everyone, especially the actors, of just playing it straight, taking it serious, and having fun with their parts. And especially Patrick Muldoon, he just has so much fun as the hero Dash, and just it was so much fun to hang out with him. And it was just like he really got it and dug into that character. We'd never met
Mhm.
before, but it kind of felt like I was writing that part for this guy. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes, his character, it was awesome. It was hilarious and fun, and yeah, it's such a good movie. You guys, just go watch it.
But yeah,
Uh,
it's that character too. Again, he's a failed Olympian, had the terrible
yeah.
accident, and then he gets his moment. He may not be winning the gold medal, but he's beating the ice spiders on skis, and like you want to give everybody their moment. So
Yeah, and you know what? I thought you did a good job individualizing the spiders, giving them their own little personalities, and they've got totally different looks. And spiders scare the bejesus out of me too. I don't like him. It's taken me a long time to come around to jumping spiders, thanks to the TikTok
so
pets that I
oh,
see
they're
now
they're so
everywhere.
they're so cute, and
They
actually,
are.
that's a scene that never got filmed. Maybe someday we can do a Crowdstarter, Kickstarter, or whatever, or I can win the lottery and we can film the scene that was left out, which was Dash on the back of a jumping spider using the silk like lasso and riding
Oh
it
my
like a
god.
bucking bronco. And even as I was writing that, I knew this is never going to make it in the movie. We can't do this. So that's if I have any one regret in my entire career, it's that the jumping spider rodeo scene did not get filmed. So
Oh, I'm so
damn it.
sorry. I'm so
Damn it.
sorry. That would have been perfect. I
That
don't
would
know
have
what they
been
were talking about. It's
exactly.
their it's their loss, you know.
Fools.
Fools. Uh, well, okay. So, and I guess this would apply to your other works too, but it had me thinking and wondering something. So, like I told you before, I don't know the intricacies of horror or creating it or anything, but I am familiar with a rule, and the rule is something along the lines of don't show your monster, or at least wait to show the monster. And I think that rule was broken in Ice Spiders and some others, but it worked. That's my point. It worked. And so I was just curious, like, what you're just such a rebel to me, Eric. What other rules are you breaking? What do you like to challenge? What do you put to the test?
Well, believe it or not, in Hollywood terms, I've always tried to break the thing of not showing the monster straight up. In
Hmm.
modern Hollywood, and I get it, for TV, for a Sci-Fi Channel movie, and commercial, or I'm sorry, in television, whatever we call it, the cold open or the teaser or the prologue or whatever. I get it. You wanna show something up front to grab the audience's attention. And there's also a thing not a lot of people realize, and it used to be more important than it is, but it's still going on. That's the first 10 minutes. So it's the first 10 pages that you got to grab the reader. But more importantly, especially independent films back in the day, when they would go to the film markets, the buyers have hundreds of movies to watch. They can't set through your entire movie. So if you take forever to get to something at the end, which is how I love all the classic movies, build slowly, 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 again, especially in independent cinema, you got to grab them in the first 10 minutes because that buyer is going to be in the next theater over watching the next movie. So
Right.
there's a push by Hollywood. It also ties into short attention spans by people and the Twitter generation that can either read or watch or shorts or whatever that, watch 5 seconds or read 2 lines of something and then the attention span goes somewhere else. Squirrel, the literary and film
Right.
equivalent of people seeing squirrels. So but I agree. The thing that I've broken is I still take the long build up. I love to
Huh.
establish the characters, the setting, and I just still believe in that. I did manage one of my last screenplays that I wrote. I got the monster, which in this case is a haunted house, a very active, real, no question. Is this haunted? Were there really ghosts? What was happening? On page one, I open. It's the only time I've ever managed to do it was
Mhm.
to get the monster on page one, and it makes the whole thing work. But in general, like the novel, like most of my screenplays, I like to massage it, let things out, build the setting, build the characters, because then when things start happening, you're much more invested and you care, and it feels like you've settled into the world. Plus, people are just eating popcorn and talking to their friends and texting in the first
Sure.
10, 15 minutes these days anyway. But that's my weird that's my most rebellious thing, is that I still even though people say you gotta have an explosion on page 5, you gotta establish this by page 3,
Right.
and I'm
Right.
like, whatever. If you're paying me to do that, and as a for instance, that opening scene of Ice Spiders, that's
Hmm.
what was one of the few things was given to me. I was hired to write that script. It wasn't an original, and the title was there, and the opening scene of two hunters hunting and being hunted themselves by spiders, and the image
Hmm.
of a spider on a lift line like it's a web. Other than that, it was all my ingenuity as it were, um, or stupidity, as some people would say, but that's fine. But that opening, and again, that's a creature feature. That's the Sci-Fi Channel. When you go into
Yeah.
that, and what's probably going to be your next movie, Swamp Shark. Well, guess what? I think we know what the monster is going to be. We're not making Jaws here, where nobody knew what it was back in the day. Which again, most of the great monster movies are happy accidents that they were supposed to be
Hmm.
more on camera. Even Alien was supposed to be, I think, stunt guys in monster suits on stilts chasing people around, and then that never works. They fall over. The Jaws doesn't work, and suddenly you re-edit it and go into this, slow thing with sound again, the dun dun in Jaws, and that slow reveal of what's happening. The terror builds because you haven't seen the monster, and that to me is
Yeah.
just 1,000 times more effective. And but there is a place for splatter in the first scene.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Like for instance, and modern day, I love the opening sequence. I think it's is it City of the Dead, the is Zack Snyder's Vegas zombie movie, whatever. I think it's Zack Snyder. Am I losing my mind here? But the opening credit sequence is a marvel. It's just like amazing and fun, and it's all right there. So it's again, it's kind of taste. So, but thank you.
Okay.
I enjoy being a rebel, and
Okay.
glad somebody noticed finally.
I did. I got you. All right. Well, uh, let's move on to our next one, and we'll do, and then I got a follow up question for you. 2011's Swamp Shark. It was the verbal trailer.
It's a shark in a swamp.
Oh God, no.
I try summarizing
Basically, yeah.
that AI. Come on, AI can't even do that good. No, it's a small town in the south on the swamp, and they're having the Gator Festival, and somehow a shark, genetically engineered killer shark, winds up getting dumped out of its transport vehicle into the swamp and
Mhm.
starts swimming around and eating people. And the lovable cast of characters going on have to find out what's going on and stop it before it completely wrecks the Gator Festival and destroys the economy of our small town.
Right, right. And no good doing sheriff character. And you know what? I'm such a fan of DB Sweeney. I was so excited to see that he was in. I was like, oh
Yeah,
gosh, I haven't seen him forever.
yeah, the
Yeah.
whole cast, but what a great actor! And again,
Hmm.
he just latched onto the part and played it straight.
Hmm.
Even though it's ludicrous on the heart, he played that character, and there's that bit of mystery to him, which we wove in, and make it. What? Who is this strange guy? Is he one of the villains? Is he one of the heroes? What's going on here? And then he gets to do his heroic turn, but also be a nice guy at the same time. And so it's tried to
Yeah.
put as much depth as I could. The whole cast of that movie. I like that people still watch that and have fun because the whole cast. I tried to make each of the characters different and unique in their own way, and also, I mean, Christy Swanson, come on, playing the lead, and DB Sweeney, and just everyone in that. What a
Mhm.
great cast from top to
It was
bottom. A lot of Hollywood people,
fabulous.
some locals, and they just chewed into their parts in the best fun way possible. So they make that such a fun movie.
You gotta have, like, I don't know, just like a sense of humor and just not be too serious, but like you have to be able to just enjoy doing work like that, like, and just go and have fun with it. Apparently, but it was a fantastic cast, like cast all around. It was just awesome. So okay, so Ice Spiders, Swamp Shark. Are you, Eric? Are you in a special fan of like creature features?
I do. I have to say, probably other than in non-horror, my favorite movie of all time is The Blues Brothers, which you could argue is a
Oh.
horror movie in some respects, but it's definitely out there on so many levels. But the Giant Ant movie, is still. I
Hmm.
saw it when I was a young kid. I've watched it 100 times, and circling back to this day, anyone who's seen the movie, if you hear the sound effect, that movie starts very much as a mystery movie. Something happens to people out in the desert. People are investigating, and and spoiler alert, it turns out to be giant radioactive ants, and that, that great radioactive era that we had when we still didn't know what radioactivity did. And of course, what it really does is make every single thing on the planet giant that eats people. Like, yay!
Ooh.
Of course, but there's a sound that I couldn't even replicate, but it's the sound of the giant ants. And I still hear it, and I get little chills on the back of my neck because it's such a well done little sound effect. And I've never even researched what the sound actually is or where it came from. I'm sure there's a whole show just on that, like the Godzilla roar, which I know is lions and things mixed up and run back together, which is so iconic. But then there's something that, it's kind of, you just have to hear it. And people who've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Decades later, you hear it, that's the giant ants from them. So long story short, I love giant monster movies. And so that was kind of fun to get to write them and have a blast, even though the shark isn't giant, as it were. It's not like, Megalodon or the Meg or something like that. It's just a killer shark. But ice spiders are definitely giant. And so, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I love those, and it's just a blast. And one of my favorite movies of all time is Night of the Lepus. Again, if you haven't seen that, just watch it. And just it stands kind of on its own pedestal next to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. One is obviously a farce from the beginning. Night of the Lepus is a very serious movie about giant killer rabbits. And from the set design to the script to the direction to the acting to the monsters, to the giant monsters, they treat it completely seriously. And I'm glad I didn't write it because, I wish I would have, but when you watch that, I would have been making jokes out the side because I just can't stop myself. Come on, it's giant killer rabbits, but come on, they play it so straight that it becomes this amazing piece of work, a piece of art. So everyone should see that. So
you're introducing me to all new film. I wouldn't know most of the horror that I know if it weren't for like Mystery Science Theater or something like that, which is a phenomenal show.
I don't think any of my movies have made it on there, but that would be the ultimate badge of honor to see.
Would that be an honor?
Just rip me apart. That would be so if you're listening, guys, please
talk about having fun with it. Passionate Apathy Entertainment, he says both great movies, yes, and had a question here. Yes, if you could reboot one horror movie that you think had a great premise but fell flat for whatever reason, what would you want to do and why? Great question.
I had this. I know the answer immediately. Not a lot of people have seen this movie, and this is why I would want to reboot it. I'm a gigantic Vincent Price fan, always have been from the day. One of his films, I don't think it was a hit or a miss or whatever, but one of my favorite films of all time that not a lot of people remember or get, or when you watch it, even I'm like, what the hell were they thinking? Is The Abominable Dr. Phibes. And it's amazing. It's a product of its time. Yes, it's a little bit slow in places and it's weird, but basically it's very gothic horror. And I won't say that Price is chewing the scenery because he can't through physical limitations that I don't want to spoil for anybody. But it's basically a love story where his wife is killed or dies in an operation, and he becomes kind of a ghostly supervillain. Again, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it, but he's basically enacting biblical vengeance on the doctors and people that basically he thinks in his mind killed his wife. And along the way is just the most bizarre set dressing ever and wonderful. It's very much almost like a Technicolor 60s, 70s weirdness in a background and a mechanical band while he's playing a pipe organ. And the movie's just batshit insane. I love it. It's great. But I always wanted to see that remade, partially just to get it to a wider audience, just so people can see it. And again, remarkable performance among hundreds or however many he did by Vincent Price. And it would be really hard shoes to fill. But in my heart, I always thought that Robert Englund could have just ripped as Dr. Phibes. I was just one of those that I was like, can we get this going? And I would pitch it to people and talk to people, and they'd go, the what? The abomina, who, what? Or the people who'd seen it go, why would you want to remake that? And sorry, they're all wrong.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Put that one on your list, and I'll be happy if anybody comes back and says, why the hell did you recommend that? I get it. I understand. But when you've actually seen it 100 times like I have, you realize that there's just something going on there, and you got to celebrate. I mean, they went to the left field, and it's a pretty mainstream movie for an independent. So,
yeah, well, there you go. Passionate Apathy. There you go. Thank you for the question. Let's see. I wanted to just point out this one. It's 2007's Night Skies. I think I enjoyed this one the most just on a personal level. I'm
Yeah.
such a UAP, UFO alien head. I love the subject. And this was a really interesting, just specific interpretation of a well known, well documented UFO event, which is the Phoenix Lights. One, were you familiar with the event prior to writing this? And two, how much flexibility or freedom did you have with shaping the story?
Yeah, yes, I was familiar with it, and I pretty much had total freedom. My director friend Roy had a lot of ideas with it, and Jerry and Steve, the producers on it, also had some ideas, but it was mostly me. And I was aware of the Phoenix Lights, and for anybody watching, of course, there's the based on true events. Okay, the Phoenix Lights were just a series of lights in the sky that defy explanation, and hundreds of people saw them, and they can keep saying that it was helicopters on maneuver all they want, but pretty much anyone who saw that or has seen the footage, it's like, no, that's not right. Which kind of goes into most I still say UFO. I know UAP is the cool kid term these days, but like there are 99% of them are it really is a weather balloon, or it really was light,
Mhm.
something you saw or something you didn't imagine. It's that 1% or 2% or whatever that completely defies explanation. And that means out of the tens of thousands of reports, that means that there are hundreds that are real. It's like paranormal. It's like a ghost. It may or may not be real. It may not be a ghost. It may not be an alien, but there's something there. Something happened. And that was kind of the mystique we did, that like, what if it just took the fiction of what if the Phoenix Lights were really an alien invasion, as it were. They're sneaking down to take some samples. And of course, I think a Fire in the Sky was a big influence on that as well.
DB Sweeney.
Yeah, right there, an amazing performance, great movie. and
Yeah.
and that's one of those stories that when you tell the true life story, there's some people that are obviously trying to get attention, but when that
Mhm.
happens to a person who doesn't want attention, who's obviously traumatized by something, who wants nothing to do with the publicity, and they still have the guts to tell their story and what happened, that flashes back to the coast to coast, that you treat that with respect, because no
Mhm.
matter what happened, whether it was their imagination or their brain is covering something up in their trauma in their past or present, or whether they really were kidnapped by aliens and something horrible happened, that happened to that person. It's real and it deserves respect, like as any other bit of trauma to everything. And you can't really make light of that. But at the end of the day, we just took that and ran with it and made a fun alien abduction story that ends up in some of the goopiest goop ever filmed. That's awesome and fun. But more serious. I did my usual little bits of levity and humor, but that's when you're getting to know the characters, and then later on, it just gets real.
Mhm. It's a good watch, you guys. I I'm thinking like we're running short on time, and I do want to get to the book next. So I'm gonna kind of cut ahead, but real quick, Chemical Knee Rub, who is a moderator for one of my buddies' shows, Nocturnal Frequency Radio. If you're looking for other, you should definitely do. They're fantastic. But they asked, would you or have you ever stayed at a haunted location for inspiration?
Yeah, I actually have, and as much for fun as and what the heck's going to happen. I guess maybe the danger circuit is cut off in my brain somewhere. I had a dream of, it's actually my second novel that I'm just about to finish, which also at one point had a version as a screenplay. I had an idea of shooting that like they did The Innkeepers, which is to go to a haunted house, whereas The Innkeepers is a haunted inn, and actually stay there. That's a great movie for you to watch, by the way. If you haven't, please watch The Innkeepers. It's Ty West, I believe, directed that, and it's a phenomenal movie because you don't even know that it's about a haunted house or a haunted inn until you're deep into the story and everything's set up. So I just love that. It's a good example. But they shot that at a real, allegedly haunted inn up in the Northeast. So I've always done that. I wanted to shoot that script, or now it really inspires me in the book. But I've gone and stayed places. Like I'm forgetting the name of it, but there's a haunted hotel in a specific room up in not Fillmore, but one of the, I think maybe it is Fillmore, just outside of Los Angeles, that all of the ghost shows have been there, and went and stayed there one night. And I will say I didn't see anything dramatic, but it was a uncomfortable night's sleep.
Okay.
And it did give me many ideas to put in my thing. And there's one point where the way the mirror worked at the end of the bed with an open closet door, I was waiting for the red eyes to flash
Oh, no.
on in the reflection. And like behind me, if the red eyes come on in the mirror, I'm out of here. But at one point I had to get up in the middle of the night, just shut the door. Like, I'm sorry. I want to
Yeah.
act like Mr. Tough Guy horror writer, but I'm shutting the damn door in case the red eyes come on, because I can't handle this. this. So, but I've also worked in a lot of places that were allegedly haunted, and felt some things in some places. Stayed in the Queen Mary. They don't rent out the room. I forget the room number, but there is a room where many people have had verifiable experiences in. I've
Oh.
toured that and seen that room, but they just simply don't. And it's in a section of the ship that's not really active anymore either. So they don't. There's many reasons why they don't rent it out. But if you ever get to do the tours of the Queen Mary, they'll take you by the room, and I got to say there were some unsettling feelings. And so I do try to put that in the story. I try to get that feeling, whether it's something not overt that happened, but just that, like, what, the hair on the back of your neck tingling. What happened to me? Who was that? Was there somebody watching me? I feel that. So hopefully that
Mhm.
answers it.
Yeah, I second the weirdness at the Queen Mary. I did take a tour there a million years ago, and there's just I don't.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
and the weirdest thing about and again, I think it might be Fillmore, but I don't think, I'd have to look it up. But it's up by Moore Park. It's a little small town in that
Hmm.
general area,
Hmm.
northwest of Los Angeles. You can easily find it on the Googles. The weirdest thing is that town basically shuts up at like 6 in the afternoon. It's like the town that dreaded sundown, except that, we want
Huh.
to go out for something to eat. You can't. Everything's closed, and it's like 35 miles to the freeway or to the next rest stop. So get there early and pack some snacks because everything shuts down. But you're really there for the ghost. So I recommend it. It was a fun place and actually a nice little hotel. Forget whether it's haunted or not. It was. I love little old kind of inns like that, and so it was fun whether it was haunted or not. It was a great little weekend.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I got to. My partner and I are putting together a haunted road trip, so we've got to figure out a couple of
Ooh.
cool like haunted hotels to stay in. And
I,
Passionate Apathy Entertainment. I don't think I put this up. He says, "I'm in. Send me the Kickstarter link." I think that was in reference to you remaking the
the jumping spider. So yeah.
stuff back there. All right, all right. How are you on time? Because we are at the hour. I do want to get in a little bit about the book, but just give me.
I've got time, so whatever fits your
Okay,
format. So, like I
okay,
said
all right.
said in the preamble, I can babble on for hours until somebody says, "Shut the hell up."
No, that's what I like. That's what I want. That's what they want. All right. Whatever happened to Uncle Ed? Great title, by the
Oh, thank
way.
you, thank
Just
you.
fantastic. It immediately sucks you in. So let's start here. Give folks the rundown of the story, if you can.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard book to pitch, and so I have it up here. I've got my little elevator pitch on it. So sorry if this comes off a little stilted, but I'm covering so much ground in it that I always stumble over my own pitch. But the book uncovers the tortured pasts of a former high school basketball star and his feuding allies as they fight demons in violent magical games to end a family curse. That's
Okay.
the basis of the story. And at one point, thank you about the title. I love the weird mystery of it and the strange thing. But also at one point, I was just going to go, just go simple and call it Demon Hunter, which is kind of a bit at the heart. But I like staying with the weird and mysterious and breaking conventions and confusing people. So it's exactly what I just pitched. It's a guy that we meet in his 40s. He's an accountant. He's the weird guy that hardly anybody talks to at work. And his boss, you can tell that they've had a previous relationship for years, is always questioning why he comes to work. He's like beat up and bruised and has things wrong with him and won't ever reveal, even though they've known each other for decades, the guy just won't reveal what happened in his past. And then I go back and
Mhm.
forth. My chapters are now and then. And so you do find out what happened to him when he was growing up and the things that lead him to here, which involves his mother, who was in a tragic car accident tied into the whole story, which derailed his life and dreams of getting a scholarship and playing basketball and maybe going professional. And instead, against a little bit of a spoiler alert, he can't leave the town. He's got to stay and take care of his sick mother. And in the process of all this, he has encounters with his strange, mysterious, kind of very, very Vincent Price inspired Uncle Edward. Again, a whole big family story background with the two of them. And eventually, Uncle Edward disappears. Nobody knows what happened. 7 years later, Max, the hero, inherits the mansion, and he inherits a set of books, one of which is a diary. One is a magic thing, kind of on the level of a book of Ibon or a Necronomicon or something to that effect, and basically starts unpeeling the onion of what's happening in this house, what his uncle did, the games that his uncle played, some of which he has repressed memories of participating in when he was a young kid. And
Mhm.
you pull all that apart, flashing back and forth, like I said before, until it all comes together with a strange cast of characters and friends who are with him and helping him essentially to fight monsters that his uncle trapped in order to free innocent souls. And so that's it. There's a sports theme to it, which I kind of equate to it's a basketball theme, but not everything
Yeah.
takes place in basketball. It's just the sports obsession. What will someone do to win? And this, I love that this character. I really draw out the his obsession to right the family wrong, to end the family curse. Even though every month he's playing these vicious, evil games and putting his life and his soul on the line, he willingly does it because he's got this sense of guilt, this sense of debt to end this evil family curse. Like I said, so it's a whole lot going on. It's humorous. I love that people pick up on the humor, even though it's really dark in places. There's action, there's mystery, there's a little bit of a love story, there's all kinds of fun stuff, but and some tongue in cheek things too. And I just have a blast. And I think you said you read it, and I think you enjoyed it, and I get nothing but
Mhm.
positive reviews so far. And
Good.
yeah,
Yes. Yes,
and
as well it should. I can't imagine why anybody would leave a bad review for this book in particular. I've read some
yeah,
bad books,
what the
but
hell's wrong with you?
I
Like,
know.
why would you do that? No, not everything is to everybody's taste. I get that, but and again, in this,
Sure.
some some of the some people of a certain age might go, well, there's nothing happening until page 50 or 60. Well, there's a lot happening. Just settle in, buckle in, enjoy the ride. So
Man, people complain about damn near anything. I tell you what. I'm glad you mentioned theme, the basketball theme, and I was thinking, like, going through it. There's some great themes in this story that are really like just really important to the story, and I especially liked that there was a theme about bullying and like how that like translates into the future into Max's present. But yeah, just some really great stuff. Thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to just like you know
yeah,
point a spotlight at the
there's
themes
some
of the book.
there's some triggerable things in there, but it's like you
Mhm.
say, I touch on bullying, which happened to me a bit when I was a kid. Moved around a lot, and I was always the new kid, so not to the level that happened to some people,
Oh,
but there were some relatively traumatic events, and I grew a distaste for bullies through that. But there's also off camera, as it were, off stage. There's implied spousal abuse, and which is its own form of bullying or back and
mhm.
forth, and all of these things, and it's really kind of a catharsis of how this main character deals with these things. Some just on a psychological level, some on an overt level, but in some ways it's a practical manual of how to deal with things and how to keep it under control. And honestly, as you saw, the main character, he's fallen apart. He
Yeah.
can't do it. He has to reach out. He's got to reach out, and that's the big theme. That, like I said, life is a team sport. That's the big thing. But I say that to anyone who's having a bad day, having a bad life, having depression, having trauma, being bullied. Reach out. Don't retreat into yourself. It's safe. It's easy. Don't hide in your basement. Don't hide under the covers. You can do that, and that's wonderful. And no one's judging you for doing that. But at some point, reach out. Ask for help.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that at all. And we have this built-in thing, especially men, but also women, that you don't want to say something sometimes for real repercussions because people don't believe you or whatever's going on. And men have to be so tough that we can't admit that we're having trauma. But you
Right.
know what? Somebody out there will listen. And a lot of people are going to tear you apart. And pardon my French, fuck those people. Every person is valid.
Yes.
Every person has meaning. Every person's feelings are valid. And you got to find your people, find your tribe. They're out there. And it may be professional, it may be friends, it may be somebody who's a family member, somebody who's worried about you. And to the people that
Mhm.
don't care about you, forget them, cut them off. Go find new people if you have to, or find the people that do care about you. So I think that comes through in the book. And at the end
Mhm.
of the
Yep.
day, it's, yes, there's great demon hunting fun and shooting monsters and funny scenes and all these things and imaginative wild things, but that's the heart of it. And that's the thing, is just trust people, because people out there, you're loved. Whoever you are, somebody loves you somewhere.
Yes, yes. Find your tribe. I love that, and it's just so true. Black Cat Report. This interview is awesome. He means you, Eric.
Oh, no, it's you. The questions, I'm nothing without you.
Oh, good. Well, actually, you made me think of something. Coming from like your background, with screenwriting and writing for movies, did you find anything as you got further into the writing of the book, like certain things that just would not translate over to book form?
Well, so this novel in particular started off as a short story, which I still have copies of, and some of that original text that I wrote longer ago
Hmm.
than I really want to admit. Some of the actual text is still in the book. So apparently, I haven't learned how to write in all these years. Some of my bad mistakes are still in there, in spite of my wonderful editor or two that try to smack me on the hand and say, "Stop dangling your participles," or whatever it is. But and then it became a novella, and then at one point it was a screenplay. And everyone who read it loved it, said it was imaginative. But I realized that obviously nobody bought it. We'd be having a different conversation if they had. But there were extended stories and places I wanted to go that I simply didn't have time to do in the screenplay. And I also didn't want it to feel like a cheat of, oh, you're just seeding it for the sequel, that you're going to write 2 movies in one. And when I first wrote this, there wasn't, limited series, which I may have actually done it as a limited series if that format was more available in America at the time. They were always doing it in Europe and UK. But there was more in there. So when I went in to explore, it's kind of the wide open field. Even though when you're writing a novel, you have to stay on your rails, stay in your story rails, but you can still have much more time to add chapters, add characters, do things that you just don't have time to do in a screenplay. And so I'm glad that it took the form that it did, and eventually, hopefully, it will soon become the the next great 3 films from Peter Jackson or somebody huge, and we'll just break it all up, or make it a big HBO or somebody limited series or something. But I just like the fact that I had the time to explore and expand and tell the story and bring the themes open too, or bring the themes back home. So and that's what the wrap up does. In some ways, I read the ending again obsessively, like all writers do, because we're in love with our words. But a lot happens in the ending, and like the last, I don't know, 40 or 50 pages, there's so much going on. But it's like you say, or I said, it's all of those themes, all of those ABC stories and characters all come together, and it's just you're on the roller coaster. Then you're heading for the ending with the characters, and I just love that rushed. I did it on purpose. Like, let's get there, let's get to that ending, because it's really kinetic, and I hope that comes across in the read.
Yes. Well, and that's really interesting what you said about like how it began, because that was an initial thought that I had just getting into, like, even just the first chapter, because it's so like easy to visualize everything and everybody, the characters, as you're reading through it. And I know not everybody actually has that mental movie playing when they read, which is a weird fact, but it's true. But it was just so easy. And I was like, you know what, this would make a great movie.
Well, thank you.
So
Film rights are available. Call
there
me.
you go.
Call me.
All
We'll
right.
do lunch.
Hey,
But
it gets greenlit for a movie tomorrow. What
yeah,
are you fighting to keep intact?
you know
What
what?
stays?
As much of the story and characters as possible. I mean, I get it. If
Okay,
it did turn into
that's
a
fair.
feature in particular, it would be hard to get everything in just a feature. But I would hope that, like, let's do the 3-hour version, then I could get everything in. But I think
Oh,
everything is important. And as I said earlier, I didn't tell some particular stories, and some foreshadowing, some flashbacks. Like, I've actually written, and I may put it out as in a special edition someday. I've written an origin in the 40s with our unnamed villain. Wait, Uncle Ed. Okay, I'll just say it. Spoiler alert. Uncle Ed, the villain, how he acquired this book in the first place. And it's fun and I love it, but I didn't think, like, oh, if I'm going to put that at the opening, I want to open with the main character. I don't want to open and make this whole story about the magic book or something, which so many tropes have done. Yes, it's important, but it's not about reading passages from the Necronomicon. It's more about Max and his struggles. So I left that out. And you saw, one of the great characters, Tommy. I don't show his action-oriented scene where as you've seen, I flash back and kind of tell the story of all the different characters and things that happened in the past. I left his out on purpose because I just thought, you know what, there's enough action in this. We all know it in our head. Max tells the story and he kind of, briefs everybody on what he thinks happened from newspaper reports, but I didn't feel the need to share that and also break that narrative. And one really important thing that somebody brought up to me, and I didn't do it on purpose, as, again, spoiler alert, something tragic happens to Max's beloved mother. And there's horror involved, both real and imaginative and in fiction, and all these things that he's dealing with, that she's dealing with. But I chose on purpose to not show her very much after the accident. There are a couple scenes, have you seen, and there's one that's kind of a nightmare dream that happens. But I just simply, I felt like I would be demeaning the character to show her diminished. And hurt and broken, and so I kept most of that off screen, as it were. And again, that doesn't mean anybody who's been in an accident and who is physically diminished, they're still vibrant and alive. And I do bring that across in stories and things that people say and feel about her. But in this context, I just didn't want to see that or feel it. It was just too personal for me, and I just didn't want to show that character there. So, yeah, again, a limited series. There's so many stories I could go into. Stories. Again, Max tells some of the stories, other people mention the stories, but there either wasn't room or I just didn't feel the need to belabor the, let's go see another action scene. Choices.
Well, you just said something there. Hold on. So they say write what you know. A
Yep.
lot of authors, a lot of fiction authors base their stories and their characters off of real events from their lives, people that they know. Would you be comfortable sharing with us a couple, like who made it into your book? What events made it into your book?
You know what? The best parts of Maxine, Max's mom, and the relationship with Max, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the best parts of my mom are in there, and some specific
Oh,
little things that my mom did here and there. Any of the bad parts, any of the bad characters, and the negative, evil stuff, that's all just imagination making that up. I mean, there were some vaguely nefarious people in my life, but and some people that were just benign, that weren't necessarily bad, weren't necessarily good, but none of the bad stuff is. But I think that's why a lot of people read this, and the interaction between Max and his mom, either as a kid and growing up, but later on his reaction to everything. A lot of that's my heart. That's me and my mom in there. There's no way around it. And dedicated the book to her and my dad also. And there's a bad dad in there, but there's a great father figure, as you know. And those are the best parts of my dad too. And
mm-hmm.
some other people that I've known, people, writing teachers or a coach here and there or something, that, people that had a positive influence on me, and I tried to pluck those out. And so the good stuff is real people, and that's a testament to mom. There's just such a sweet soul that had her own challenges in life, and was not these type of challenges, but medical challenges that crippled her for good portions of her life.
Yeah.
And I just always felt in my heart that she just should have been given a better chance. And that's, again, so that bit, and that Max is trying to right those wrongs and do things and be there for her. That's me talking to my mom.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I never know if that's like an okay question, because some people are
Yeah,
very private, like, no,
yeah.
I can't let that person know that, this character's based off of them or whatever, the for whatever reason. Okay. Well, one more question just about the book, and then I think let's go ahead and wrap it up. We're 15 over. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Who's been hanging out with us. Um, I just wanted to hear your thoughts about this. So I thought that you took a rather interesting, unique direction with this concept of demon, like the creature. It's more monster than is, like, it's commonly kind of conceptualized through the Christian and biblical
Right,
lens.
right.
What are your actual thoughts on that more commonly accepted idea of this creature?
Yeah, well, and briefly, my version of demons in this were directly influenced by my love of B movies, and specifically A movies like Gremlins. There's a whole scene in there which is in my loving homage to actually Gremlins, which I love the movie. As if you've seen that or not, if you haven't, you're in for an
Mm.
absolute treat. And it's outside of Die Hard, it's probably the greatest Christmas movie ever made, and you're
Ooh.
laughing and cringing at the same time. It's a wonderful film. Again, hats off to Joe Dante and the team for making one of the most classic movies of all time. So direct homage to that and other films, and it kind of fits the style of the book and the way the action happens and things. And they do morph, as you've seen. They take on different forms, but the base form is that kind of prototypical B movie demon, which to me was just fun and fit the ethic. But
Mhm.
demons, real demons as they were, they can take any shape. There's
True.
people that are demons. It's more the behavior than the form.
Mhm.
And something I've always liked to do, both in my head and in my stories, and also in things that I read, is nobody ever stops and talks to the monster.
Hmm.
Why are you killing people? Why are you eating people? Why are you doing this? And in so many things, great stories like, I mean, come on, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. Okay, he may have been a bad person, but he was burned to death. And then
Mhm.
that's
He
why
he
he's
does
coming
have a
back. Yeah,
backstory. He does
there's a
have a
backstory.
motivation.
He's
Yeah.
taking vengeance, and not every character needs to have a backstory. Sometimes people are just using a machete to kill people, and even in the real
Mhm.
world, there's serial killers and people that just do things for whatever reason they do them.
Yeah.
But demons can take any form, and there is, so this particular book, my particular take on it was not the dark kind of ghostly, I think more gothic film demon type thing, a trope or something of a ghostly figure or more demonic, as it were. But I do think that, like I said, this my version of demons fit my story, but in reality and in other stories I do, they can be anywhere. A
Yeah.
demon is, you're working with a demon. So, again, sometimes it's just that annoying person at work, or it's a terrible boss. And shout out to all the great bosses out there, but it can just people that you randomly encounter. And there's something about it. I don't know. We'll never answer. Some people claim to know that people get possessed or whatever and do things. And that may just be a way of absolving themselves of blame of things, but the devil made me do it or something, or yeah, you did it and you're wanting an excuse. But whatever it is, demons are real. Most of the time, they're just humans that are particularly vile and do bad things. And I haven't ever encountered the real evil version of them out there yet. So hopefully I won't ever, because I don't know what I would do. But I hope I'm answering your question. I think demons are everywhere.
Okay. Okay. No, that made perfect sense. Perfect sense. Thank you. All right. Yes. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. I think you mentioned this before. What is next for your like literary pursuits, and then what's coming up for you in general?
Well, after after I signed the 9 picture deal for whatever happened to Uncle Ed, I'm just retiring, and
Of course you are.
I'm
Yes.
gonna move to a castle somewhere and invite people over to my dungeon parties. No, I'm
Ooh.
working on my second novel, tentatively called Home, which is even though the house in Uncle Ed is not haunted, it's the setting of bad things. But I'm making a real haunted house story, which I'm pulling from a lot of influences, everything from House of Leaves to The Haunting and everything. It's very much an homage to great haunted house stories that I've known and
Yeah.
loved. And it's basically the story of a TV video ghost hunter. What happens when you really go into a place and find a ghost?
Yeah.
Or a haunted place. It's not the most original idea in the world, but what I'm doing with it, grounded in story and characters and family, and kind of it goes in some directions that I think people are going to be very surprised about. So I'm fine tuning the ending right now, trying to get it out there, and I think a lot of people are going to like it and be surprised. And some people who like ghost hunting, or some ghost hunters, might be a little pissed off at me initially when they see that I'm kind of making fun of the whole genre, but at the same time, there's a level of respect in it. So
Mm-hmm.
not every creaking floor or creaking door is a ghost, or water drip. Sometimes it's just dripping water in an old building, but sometimes it's real. So that's what I'm exploring in that.
Okay. You know what, the real deal ghost hunters, investigators that know, like they're going to love the book. I don't think
Yeah,
they're going to take offense at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hope
Well,
so. That's my. But hey, any publicity is good publicity. So bring it on. Have at it. So
give me them bad reviews.
yeah,
Fine.
and I'm working on the audiobook. Hopefully the audiobook for Uncle
Ooh.
Ed will be out late summer, or hopefully before Halloween of 26. I'm
Oh, sweet.
reviewing some of the chapters right now. It's been delayed for some technical reasons, but I have the same audiobook team behind that did my first 4 anthologies doing it. So I had to kind of
Okay.
wait in their queue of production to get there, and I'm glad I'm waiting for them because they're immensely talented.
Awesome. We'll look forward to that as well. Where would you like to send folks online to like connect with you if you want that, or where do you want to send them to pick up copies of Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed?
So you can find out a lot more about me and all my books and stuff at either my personal website, which is ericmillerwrites.com, Eric with a C, no raging in there, just flat out Eric Miller. My small press is bigtimebooks.com, which has my anthologies and the novel listed. And you can search on the Amazons, the Barnes and Nobles, and everything. I'm also on, I'm not super active on social media, but I do post and follow a lot of people on mostly Instagram, sometimes on Facebook. So at Raging Eric, there I am. And if you send me a message or something on there and I don't reply for a while, I'm not ignoring you. It's just like I have my notifications off, and I'm like, oh, 3 months later, oh, well, shit, I need to get in touch with some people. So
Awesome. All right. And yeah, I think we are at that point where I'm going to ask you the question I gave you the heads up on at the
yep.
beginning. And that question is, Eric, help me close this out. Would you like to leave my audience with any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or a piece of advice?
Yeah, 2 things. They all tie together. They both tie together. So if you like something, if you really like something, or you really love something, leave a review, leave a comment, leave a like, follow. Creators are out there, whether it's a podcast, a writer, indie musician, whoever it is, a filmmaker. just like it. Even if it's Stephen King that already has 8 million reviews, give him 8 million and one, because we need it as creators. We need it. Also triggers algorithms and all the sales platforms that help new people find us. But the reality is, it's just nice to wake up to say, hey, I like this. Somebody plucked this out and singled me out and said nice things. And it makes you want to keep writing. And that ties into my biggest lesson for everybody. And it's not horror at all, but another one of my favorite writers of all time, Kurt Vonnegut Jr. Of the many amazing, brilliant things that he said and stories that he told, he has this great quote that I kind of live my life by, and it's just be kind, babies. Just
Love
be
it.
kind. Yeah, everybody, just be nice to other people. Like, it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Don't get up and be angry. Don't cuss at people. Just be nice and say hi and smile. If everybody did that to one other person every day and did one little act of kindness, the world's a more beautiful place.
Exactly. Agreed.
So, sorry, that's not what a horror writer should say. It should be something about how to dissect bodies or something. But hey, that's what I got.
Such a rebel, Eric.
Exactly.
All right. Fantastic. So you are going to be joining me backstage for just like 5 minutes. So I am going to put you backstage here in just a second. But first, everybody, weaver of tales, craftsman of horror, participle dangler, raging Eric Miller. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for all your great questions and all the great comments. It's really appreciated.
Yes, thank you everybody for your comments tonight, questions. Thank you. And Eric, I'll put you backstage now. Just wait for me just 2 minutes and I'll be right back with you. All right.
Great.
All right. Eric Miller, by gum. Learn more about our guest at the links that I have posted below this video in the show notes. And I've also posted a couple of links that will easily take you to places online where you can buy copies of Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed, a fabulous read, a fabulous story from the same mind that brought you Ice Spiders and Swamp Shark. Dudes, you gotta go watch these movies. I'm telling you, just go treat yourself. You got time after the show. Come on, go do it. Trust. I will be joined, as you know, by Mr. Miller here shortly in the PGP back rooms. I often like to invite my guests backstage with me just for like 5 minutes to talk something that we didn't talk about on the show. And I do believe we're going to have a quick discussion about his own personal paranormal experiences. So that should be really good. Not only do my patrons get early access to my regular episodes, but they also get exclusive access to these private one-on-one guest backstage chats. So if you are curious what we chat about, plus about 40 or 50 others, maybe, I don't know, there might be more. I've done this for a while now. If you're interested, head on over to patreon.com/Paranorm Girl Pod. Now, I don't have any real announcements for you here at the end. Sometimes I do, but tonight will be brief. But I will share with you this one thing. I've recently returned from a trip to Appalachia. I've been wanting to go since the beginning of this season. We are talking about spooky Appalachia, so I've been wanting to go. And I finally just did it. It was a very spur of the moment decision to buy the ticket, and that was that. The Aries in me, man, I cannot help it. But it was great. I went for research and found magic, my friends. I don't know. It was incredible. North Carolina is incredible, stunningly gorgeous, and I will be putting together like an Appalachian trip debrief and putting that up for everybody to watch shortly. Maybe that would be a good ease into our second half of this spooky Appalachia season, way to kick it off. We are about to end our mid-season break here in just a couple of weeks. So maybe that's what we want to do. Ease us back in before we pick up right where we left off, exploring the various cryptids that roam the hills and hollers of the region. But yeah, just to wrap up the trip talk, I had a lot on the docket to go do and see and visit and all of that. And I made about half of what I originally intended to do in the very, very short 3 days that I allotted myself there. My bad. I should have given myself more time, but yeah, it was still excellent. But maybe that means another trip is in order. Ooh, that could be what that means. Who knows? There's certainly no shortage of awesome haunted and historic places to go see. And I think that's it. Let's wrap it. So if you guys enjoyed this interview, if you enjoy my solo deep dive episodes, if you enjoy my season long explorations of particular topics, and you want to easily support the show, follow me on social and interact with me on social. That's it. That's your only call to action tonight. At Paranorm Girl Pod across all socials. Made it easy for you. But that is going to wrap us this evening. Thank you guys so much for catching it. And if you're listening to this on the replay, thank you so much for listening. Y'all are awesome. I really appreciate it. For those of you still hanging with us live, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks, and go watch some movies next. All right. Until next time, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.